sport of wrestling goes back almost 3,000 years to ancient Greece, when mighty Hercules defeated the giant Antaeus. Wrestling is also celebrated worldwide. Heck, even Abe Lincoln wrestled back in the day. So it was no surprise that wrestling found its way to the United States and also to the Maple River communities. In 1985, Dale Massop entered the ranks of legend with his own Herculean challenge of becoming Maple River's only state champion. So on the 40th anniversary, I met with Dale to discuss the sport of wrestling, his path to becoming a state champion, and the advice he'd give current wrestlers.
You know, what do you miss about wrestling? And what are you glad to be done with?
Oh, I love the competition was fun. I think for me it was more enjoyable to do the prep work for wrestling. Honestly, it was the workouts as much as kids I think hate practice. I enjoyed it. I it was a real thing for me, and it's kind of carried through life. I love working out and trying to do something every single day. And that was a big thing. I think I really started young. And just historically speaking, Jason, I started wrestling, I think, in a uh, technical sense, or doing tournaments when I was in fourth grade. So I was 10 years old, I think, and really wanted to give a lot of that credit to Norm Jenkins, the old wrestling coach, as well as Ron Swift. A lot of the work, a lot of the mentality was from those two gentlemen. They were awesome as coaches, really as secondary parents for me. I spend lots of time with them. Obviously, not just as they're obviously teachers at school, but also in the wrestling room after work, and even non-wrestling season, we talk about some of that stuff. So it's really nice resources, they're great resources to have. Norm was really kind of inspirational and kind of starting out a little kids program in the Mapleton School District. Again, this is 1976, 77. Dave Kofid, a former wrestler, was part of that program. So yeah,
familiar, yes.
so lots of familiar names. So my older brother Dave was really into wrestling. My brother Tom as well. And they got me into it. I started wrestling around with my brothers when I was, first and second grade, and just became a thing. And they started talking about these AAU tournaments, etc. So Norm had started a little program with Dave Kopit's help, and started running to some of the local tournaments. And it was fun and interesting. And I recall, I think either Norm or Dave took us to the first few, and it was like a sectional tournament. So if you do well, you advance on, etc.
Now, when did
I
you
recall.
start to bloom as a wrestler then? Did you have
I,
early success, or was there
I
some
that was
time?
I think that was that was the problem. I really had early success right
Okay.
away. I think just again, I was wrestling in first grade, so it was like it just became a thing. All the things that Dave was learning at the high school practices, I was carrying with me, or he was showing me, and then I was kind of putting those in motion. So
Now, you mentioned earlier your love of even the practices more so than even the competition and the tournaments. So why don't you just address practices a little bit? What were your routines? What were practices like back in those days? Who did iron sharpens iron? So like
right.
scrimmaging against. What are some of those memories you have?
Yeah, lots of great wrestlers at that time. Um, yeah, guys that in my class, guys who were older than I can think of Norm Stevens as a local guy who was in between my brother and I. So he was probably 3 or 4 years older than I was. Really encouraged and kind of pushed me along. Mike Howison, Bruce Shuck, as you mentioned, Ned, um, all names, Kurt Fessler, as one, all guys who were a couple years older than I was, but really encouraged me and pushed me in the practice room, etc. And I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be a winner on the mat and really enjoy that.
But oftentimes, before you reach the pinnacle, you have to experience some failures. So, did you have any failures that kind of shaped you or motivated you along the way?
Oh yeah. Boy, I think when I was, as a as a kid, you're obviously growing fast. Grow at different weights and speeds. I recall I had some success when I was a seventh grader. I was a member of the varsity as a seventh grader and I got heavier, bigger the next 2 years, and jumped into some heavier weights, what made it a lot more challenging. You learned a lot about controlling your body and just that strength and yeah, just some of those skills that you have to sharpen as you get bigger. There's more strength, there's more a little more technique, etc. that I really had to learn.
Now, did you have any heartbreaking losses? We're about to begin subsection, tournaments and things like that. Did you have any years where you're all like, oh, I thought I was going to get it that year?
I once I got through those first couple of years, my sophomore year, I really kind of came into my own. I think my freshman year, I wrestled at 132, which were different weights at the time than they are right now. But um, just yeah, I was 12-10, I think, on the year. Didn't do much of anything in the sectional tournaments, and was really kind of frustrated by that. Once I hit my sophomore year, I seemed to catch up with my body, strength wise, and just doing some more off season workouts, etc. And that's when it started coming together. My sophomore year, I went through. I was in this first, which was districts at the time, and not sectionals, and first the regions, and went to the state meets, and it was just awesome being there.
Once you were kind of hitting at this higher level, did you have any rivals or any roadblocks that were like, oh boy, this is what I got to get past? Why don't you describe any of those?
Uh, yeah, absolutely. Ran into started seeing a lot of the same guys. Like I said, I did make the state tournament my sophomore year, and kind of saw some faces I had seen in the AAU circuit when I was younger, etc. Some of those same roadblocks I ran into when I was a sophomore. I think I finished, I believe, fifth or sixth my sophomore year. Saw those same guys my junior year when I went to the state tournament. I improved by I think one placement, so I went up from sixth to fifth or fifth to fourth. And then actually my senior year, the one loss I had that year was to a guy from Janesville. Uh,
Local guy, ouch.
yes, local connection. So literally, we had a dual meet, I believe, in the it was like early December, so really the early part of the wrestling season, and I think I beat him 1-0. Now he was a year younger, so he was a junior and a good wrestler, great dude. I really we met I think like 5 times that particular year, and so my lone loss that year was at the district tournament, which is equal to the sectionals now, and he beat me by a point, and that was an inspiration.
Why don't you describe how you were like setting goals or your mentality? Was it like championship or bust, or was it just about improvement? What was your philosophy as far as your goals for your senior year?
Yeah, it's certainly about improvement. Obviously that hidden goal, which I just kind of kept out there as a carrot, I didn't talk or think a whole lot about, was a championship. I thought I had it in me, but really focused on improving. What techniques, whether it's takedowns or on the mat, et cetera, that I wanted to work on, and then kind of being in the best shape I could possibly be. So and I know that I talked about practice being great. Obviously, the meets were fun. They were great, and especially when your team is all together and you got a crowd there seeing you is great. I like the individual workouts were awesome, but again, that the ultimate is being on the mat when you've got something on the line and you've got a local school that you always compete with for the last 5-6 years that you certainly want to beat.
Let's look back at your championship run then. So what are some of the, because we're looking at, this is 2025. So this is your 40th anniversary coming
Yeah.
up, this spring. And so what has stuck with you? Why don't you describe some of those like vivid memories that have lasted these years?
Um, yeah, great classmates, great team. Again, a lot of that credit goes to, family being around me, always talking about, hey, how's the season out, what are you thinking about? Who's the competition this year? That was the talk at home. And I recall my mom always told me, hey, gotta be with you on your way out the door to a wrestling meet or to any sporting event, etc. And um, again, family encouraging me, kind of helping with workouts, etc. And working out with classmates, friends of mine who are also wrestlers. Um, that really kind of helped me along. And I think that those things stick with you every day. And I said that same mentality, when I 40 years later, I still hold with me. I'm very singular focused on things, and that's certainly from wrestling. And I think, yeah, the state tournament, the individual matches were great. I think at the time our conferences were changing. We used to be the old Valley Conference. It had morphed into, I think, multiple conferences we actually had for a conference tournament, and that was fun. It was so winning that was nice, and guys I knew who were good, that I had that I beat at this conference tournament was just extra encouraging for me. Um, and then I think it was actually in Mapleton our senior year.
Oh,
So that
how
was
fortunate. That's wonderful.
yeah, it was awesome having the home crowd right there. And I think as a team we did really well as well that particular tournament. And so yeah, and that build up. As I mentioned, we talked. I had this one guy from Janesville, Tim Elke, great wrestler. As I mentioned, a great guy. We met a lot that year, and he and I actually met in the state finals.
Oh.
So it was every single tournament on that way. So the districts, which again equates to the sectionals, the regional tournament, and then the state tournament, we met each time. And I think once or twice during the regular season. So we were very familiar with each other. So that was my one loss on the year, and I came in that district tournament, and he beat me by a point, and that I was upset. That was one of those wins where you take and feel I took that one too hard. I had beat him in the duels, and in previous tournaments, but yeah, he beat me in that one, and that extra motivation was enough for me, Jason, to really be ready come the regions, and did not anticipate meeting him in the finals. But yeah, there it was, and that build up and those memories really stick with me.
What was the community reaction then for winning the championship? Because again,
I was
it doesn't happen very often at Maple River. So take me through the community
right.
reaction.
No, it was great. It really felt that you were everyone's son, brother, sister, etc. There was a pep rally, I believe, that following week, after the state tournament. Uh, Emotional and fun, and having I think my family being out there on I think what was the old Mapleton gym floor, to kind of be welcomed by the town. I wish everyone was there. It was middle of the winter, so had a whole lot of fun stuff to do, and I guess in early March. So it was, yeah, super emotional. Like I said, it was everyone just felt like they were part of you. They were always rooting for you, and really felt like they were, again, I was their son, brother, sister, etc. From teachers all through the entire town, and beyond, the local towns around Mapleton even. So it was really exciting. And yeah, something I'll never forget.
Apparently, the legend of Dale Massop doesn't end there, though. I hear you went on to wrestle at college. So, what was your post high school wrestling experience like?
Good. It was again, the next step. It was like I my freshman year, I my first match really, Jason, I was so nervous. It's like, oh my God, this guy is a college guy. I'm not ready for this, and I felt frozen. I literally was like, yeah, I just could not move my arms, legs, etc. fast enough. I lost by a point, and it drove me insane. And that changed next week, the following week. So again, it was a motivation for me to go, okay, these are just guys. It's we're all in this same rough age group. We're just the same weight. It's yeah. So that was a good motivation. Yeah, I had success in college. It was a great run. I was an All American my sophomore year. I got hurt my junior year, and senior year was a good year, and just missed an All American again. So
Looking back upon your wrestling career, then, is there any sort of advice that you would try to impart to the wrestlers that, most of them are going to finish with a loss, but any advice you'd want to impart?
as a wrestler, it really is. You are out there solo. You're not. It's not your team is on the sideline watching you, and obviously you're rooting for them when you're in the stands or on the seats on the side of the mat as well. But have confidence in yourself. Believe in yourself. Work hard, and yeah, enjoy the sport. It's awesome, fun, and a little different in that respect. That it's you. Oh, it's a one man show out there. So yeah, enjoy that. It'll help you in the future. It really will.
This activity was made possible by an artist grant provided by the Prairie Lakes Regional Arts Council from funds provided by the McKnight Foundation.
You're asking about things you just did not enjoy about wrestling. Making weight, cutting weight. Great story when maybe I think I was a seventh grader. And my next oldest brother, Dave, was a senior. So we were on the same team together. We had conferences, the conference tournament the next day in Mid Lake. And he and I were home together. And mom had made a pan of Jello fingers. Jello fingers was a real hot thing. And this was 1980. And yeah, Jello fingers were the thing. And it's like I had cut down from 112 weight class down to 105, and I was starving. And we had our weigh in Saturday morning. This is Friday night. I think mom and dad were off out somewhere for dinner, etc. I went through and ate like 2 rows of Jello fingers, thinking it's going to put me overweight. So I worried all night about it. I did make weight the next day, but it's a memory that sticks with me, and I mention it to Dave whenever we talk about that particular event. But yeah, cutting weight was zero fun.